third string, when I play it right now, the needle, well actually let me get it back to a G, sorry about that. It's a completely different note. There we go. So the tuner is registering a G. Now, if you'll notice, the needle is very far to the left. So in order to make that tuner stand up straight, I'm actually going to turn it to the left. I'm going to turn it to the left because I want the needle to start rising. And if it goes too far, then I need to go back the other direction to even it out. So I'm currently trying to center the needle. And if I want to make the needle stand straight up, I either turn it to the left, and if I go too far, I turn it back to the right. Okay, and now my G, the needle is pretty much straight up, and the color is turned green to tell me that this note is in tune. And I can test that by playing it now with the other strings real quick. After you tune your guitar, it's always a good idea to double check every string one time, because sometimes when you change one string, it can actually affect the tuning of the other strings. So it's a good idea to always double check after you've completed the tuning process. So if more of my strings were out of tune, I would repeat this whole thing. So let's actually do that. We're going to take a couple of these strings and make them out of tune on purpose. In fact, let's just do all of them and see how quickly we can get through this. So I want you to hear really quick what a completely out of tune guitar sounds like. It's a very different sound than what we started with. So let's try and fix that to make it sound better. So I'm going to start with the lowest string 6, and I'm going to make sure that I find this tuning peg right here closest to me on the top side. This is the 6th string tuning peg. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just grabbing it with my thumb and then the side of my index finger. You only need 2 fingers to turn these. They're not very hard. So I'm going to play it and look at the needle. Okay, this needle is too far to the left, so I'm going to tighten it. I'm going to turn it to the left and make that needle start to stand up. Great, and then the color has turned green to tell me that I'm good. Okay, now I'm going to go from the 6th string tuner just directly over to the 5th string tuner because I'm tuning all of my strings. So I've moved my finger over here on the right side. I've moved my finger from the 6th string up to the 5th string. And so now I'm going to be looking for the note A. Okay, that one's completely below. It's actually it's the note directly below A, which is G sharp. So I need to bring it up to an A first. There we go. And then turn it a little bit more to the left to finish tightening it and get it to be green, like that. Okay, next up is the 4th string, and I've moved over. Now I'm at the furthest peg away from me on the top side. This is for the note D. Okay, I need to make this a D first, so I'm turning it to the left, tightening it, and now I'm gonna just go a little bit further. And there we go, I've got my green D. Now to move to the 3rd string, we actually have to jump down to the bottom row of tuning pegs, but we're going to the furthest one from us. So bottom row, furthest away, is for the note G, the 3rd string. Turning to the left, tightening. Too far, I'm gonna actually go back the other direction, turn to the right to loosen. And there's a green note, so that is good. Okay, now for the 2nd string, we're going to come to the next tuning peg closer to us. So we're on the bottom row. The middle peg is for the 2nd string, which is the note B. Turning to the left slowly while playing the note over and over again so I can really get a good tone. That good tone is going to make the tuner read my note more easily. Okay. 2nd string is good, and our last string, the 1st string, is the bottom row tuning peg, the one that's closest to us. So here's the 1st string for the high E. And we're good. Okay, so let's listen to all the strings together in order one more time. We're double checking our tuning. Okay, see how that G has gotten a little flat again? So I'm gonna fix that G. Okay, now let's continue with the last 2 strings. B is good, E is good. So now, listen, when I play all the strings together, it's gonna sound much different. The strings vibrate more, the sound resonates for longer. It's just a much better sound to listen to, especially when you're playing some chords. So when you have a fully in tune guitar, you're going to get the best sound, the best playing experience. It's going to make you sound as good as possible. So it's super important that you get your strings all in tune. Now, one last thing I'll address before I wrap up today, and that is when you play a string, what should you do if you see a letter on the screen that's completely different than what it's supposed to be? Well, you have two options. Either one, you can contact me, let me know that your guitar is very out of tune, and we can set up a time to walk through fixing it together. Otherwise, on your own, you'll need to learn basically the order of the letters in the musical alphabet. And some of you already know this from last year, but if this is new to you, then let me just cover it briefly. There are 7 musical letters that are possible in music. So we have notes like A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. The first 7 letters of the alphabet. Those are the only possible letters that you'll ever see when you're playing notes on a tuner. So every note is either going to be an A, a B, a C, a D, an E, an F, or a G. And they go in that order. So let me just go ahead and take a string. So I'll take the top E string here, number 1, and I'm going to make it a very different note. So now I've taken it and I've lowered it so much that now the tuner says it's a D. So I'm going to think to my music alphabet. I'm going to go through it, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So the letter D is before the letter E. It's right before it. D is the 4th letter and E is the 5th letter. So I know that E is the next note that comes after D. What that means for the guitar and for tuning is that I need to turn my tuning peg to the left to make that D go up until it becomes an E. And as you turn on the tuner, you're actually going to see it pass through another note that suddenly says D4 with a hashtag after it. Look at that there. So that is something that we call a sharp, and it's basically a note that's halfway between 2 letters. There are sharps and there are flats, and they are basically the same thing. But we won't talk about these for now. Just know that when you're going between letters in the music alphabet, sometimes you will see a sharp, which is just like a halfway point. But you want to keep going through that sharp note and continue to go up until your letter turns into a true E, like that. Now it says E4, now it's green, and now my string is completely in tune. It's more likely than not, you're going to be tightening your strings because they will get looser over time. Every now and then something weird will happen and your string will be too tight and you'll need to loosen it. But more often than not, you're going to need to be tightening more often than loosening. Okay, so I think we've covered just about everything you need to know for tuning your instruments at home. And of course, I don't expect you to master it just from watching this video. This is just the beginning of the very long journey towards being able to tune your instruments at home by yourself. And I'm excited to start this with you. Let me know, you can give me feedback on this video by sending me a message. Let me know if you found this to be useful.